So I came across this post by an individual called Grifty. So the individual says, Keir Starmer has stated again, this time to the BBC, that if you do not get digital ID, that you will have to pay £85 every time you're required to prove who you are by paying a company to verify who you are. This will punish the elderly. I don't think that's the strongest point to this, because few people seem to care about the elderly. And the young team, well, the naivety of, like a decade or two, it's a lifetime away. The reality for most people who have experienced being younger and older, you tend to notice that that is naive, to say the least. Seriously, we have a very short life. And not by accident, I would argue, but we're on to other subjects. What are we? But yeah, it's not. Nobody gives a fuck about the elderly. They don't. Let's be honest. It's a tragedy. It's a disgrace. But that's not going to sell it to most of the young team. And anyone else who doesn't have a mobile phone or want one, he has also stated previously that if you don't have a digital ID, you will lose your job. Yeah, absolutely. He's come out with things like that. And remember, it was never, yet again, in the Labour manifesto, they had nothing about a digital ID. And I keep saying, it doesn't matter if it's Labour, Conservative, whoever the hell it said. They're not running anything. They're highly paid actors. That's what they are. And the common denominator is Freemasonry, Eastern Star, Theosophy, Humanism, blah, blah, blah. Right? They have to be networked, or they would never be there otherwise, yes? But on top of that, well, it is about reward for, basically the Judas goat. The sheep following into a situation of which they do not come out of, really. And this is what the digital ID is about. Under fair use, let me grab this and play it.
It'll be one of those things, I think it'll be a bit like digital banking, where when you're first told you're going to move, as it were, from paper bank accounts to having something on your phone or iPad, you sort of think, I'm not sure, is this really going to help? And then the moment you've got it, you think, this is really helpful, this is really making my life a lot easier. Digital ID will be like that. It won't be mandatory, but I think many, many people will say, I can see the benefits of that. I don't want to.
It will be mandatory because anybody that has any kind of state benefit will have to accept it. That's absolutely it. Seriously. Be assured of that. And you could go into a lot more detail, like lots of people in the civil service. Many of them have got underling accountants, but they've gone along with this working from home thing. And I've always said, look, it's not just about eradicating most of us. They also want to diminish the 10% underlings, because after all, that's an awful lot of money in humouring and interconnected networks and all the rest of it. And so ultimately, it is about, this ethereal godhood of going from flesh and blood to this beings of energy and this whatever else, but to get where they're going, they've had to have and humour a lot of underling occultists and various bloody networks to get there. Yeah? Because remember, people like this guy in front of you is going to be replaced by AI. You dumb down the young team to a point where they'll accept some fucking digital image that they somehow are bonded with. And remember, you can control and program and all the rest of it without having to humour flesh and blood. These people are just the last of the underling occultist soulless tossbags that have sold their soul to get some dosh. And remember, how is this guy a multimillionaire? His pension plan alone apparently is enormous. Yeah, but are these people running the country? It's the bloody civil service. Nothing bloody changes. They're highly paid actors without any kind of conscience at all. And they always have to be blackmailable.
Spend £85 proving who I am every time I need to, when I could just show something on my phone that has all the relevant information.
And remember, you go into that, and then your banks are starting to say carbon credit for everything. Every transaction, everything that you used to take for granted is going to have a carbon score next to it. And whether you're rich or poor, if you're not going with the flow, you'll not be able to spend money on whatever you think that you can get access to. Seriously. The level of control. This is an interconnected death cult. And what you see in front of you is puppets involved in the rollout of it.
So I think for most people, I say, if this cuts the fat, I'll have one of those, please. It'll be one of those.
Seriously. A eugenics order of their created chaos. That's what they're all about. The occultists. This, well, Pete Puppet, zero empathy. Zero. He's somewhere on that socio-psychopathic scale, and I know it pisses off, psychotherapists, because you can only be one or the other, but I've always said, like, that's if you're only dealing with one personality, but I would argue many of people like him are multiple personalities, so, yeah, that changes things. Anyway, another waffle. If you give a shit, subscribe, thumb it up. You've been great company, and I'll speak to you soon.